Are vampires coming back? I feel like vampires are coming back. Did they ever really leave? I mean, like... Whoa! She's fucking flying! And today we have Abigail. Honestly, 2024, like, this is shaping up to be a pretty solid year in the realm of cinema, but also like horror cinema, but also just like fun movies in general. Abigail. Have you heard about this one? Little vampire ballerina girl? No? All right, let's get into it. Let me tell you something. First and foremost, as I probably threw in at the beginning of this video, RIP to Angus Cloud, gone from us too soon. A very entertaining figure, and this man died younger than I am, so it's a damn shame when that happens. This might have been his last performance. For those that don't know, Abigail is the latest, or by latest I mean his 5th full-length feature, of Matt Bettinelli Matt Bettinelli Alpin. Alright, so there you go. Name is not really a household name by any means, but his filmography might surprise you. So out of his like 2 most well-known films, I did review one of them, which ended up being Scream 6, which it was fine. I appreciate what they're going for, but I don't know if it's my cup of tea. What is my cup of tea is Ready or Not, which he also directed. Ready or Not. That was great. Super fun time. Basically, a hide and seek turns deadly in a big old castle manor of sorts, so give it a watch. The cast, I had a bunch of little shout outs here. For me, the star of the show was not really the would-be survivors or final girls in this movie, but our main like antagonist, Abigail the vampire. Alicia Weir. Online it says that she's primarily known as a singer and not an actor, but she's getting like roles, which include so she's in this movie that also just hit theaters called Wicked Little Letters. I have not seen it yet, but you might know her more if you're musically inclinated. She's in the 2022 that like I think it was straight to streaming maybe, but it was the Matilda movie musical. She is Matilda. She's the starring role in that, so she can sing, she can dance.
After all, miss, this is France.
Technically, our starring role is our possibly final girl, Melissa Barrera, who I did also cover in, again, my review for Scream 6. And then, of course, Catherine Newton, seeing her more and more. I covered her in my review for Lisa Frankenstein. I think it's safe to say that we're all slowly but surely, if not already, fallen in love with Catherine Newton, so it was fun to see her. And also, was it Dan Stevens? I didn't realize this, but my personal favorite character in this movie was Frank, just for reasons... I don't know, because I'm an asshole, I don't know. Between him and Abigail, but anyway, Dan Stevens, also, he was in Godzilla X Kong, the big monster veterinarian, basically, so man's got range. I'm sure I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, MovieMan? You're thinking, what the hell? I don't know movies like you do. You assume that we all know what these are. We're busy doing productive things with our lives, so we'll cut to the quick. Abigail, a group of criminals are hired to go kidnap a girl and just hold on to her until the ransom's paid out for 24 hours. But within those 24 hours, they find out pretty quickly that this little girl is actually a vampire. So now they are being chased and tormented, and their lives are in peril because they are locked in this big mansion with a seemingly immortal, invincible ballerina vampire. And then boom, that's your movie. From the start, I was 100% in and I was sold. I was like, wow, the director of Ready or Not, plus there's some names in here that I know. It's gonna be R-rated. Hold what opinions you wish to hold about those, but I believe that when it comes to most vampire films, it's required. You need R, because that's gonna be a kind of a big part of vampire lore. In lieu of Nosferatu, and something a bit more serious than Renfield, we have Abigail. Apparently, I was the only one in my friend group who, like, borderline loved this movie. Everybody that I went with enjoyed it, but I seem to have been the only one who was, like, super excited by the end of it and just thought, man, that was a really solid, great time. It's just a lot of fun. From the concept of the movie, like, the premise itself and how they executed it, well-paced. Kind of some serious emotional moments they try to hit in here that kind of hit okay, like, they're fine, but really you're in it for the violence, the survival horror element aspect of it, the idea of a ballerina vampire going around tormenting and playing with her food before potentially killing these people, and watching them fight her off and fail spectacularly. It's great. All the actors in it embody their roles really well. It's a real, like, it's quite a pack of characters here, some of which are more serious than others, some of which are more hot-headed than others, or like ditzy, but they all technically have a quote-unquote skill set, which are their respective reasons for why they're hired for this job. And then the chemistry, like, they all play off each other really well. Some are smarter than others, some are more nervous, some are more anxious, some are more violent. So watching the chemistry play out in the dialogue and the situations is also very entertaining and well done, in my opinion. Most of the comedy lands in this film for me, especially the dark stuff. You're looking at a guy who really enjoys his dark comedy, so especially like dark comedy horror. Plenty of funny situations and very violent but also still humorous situations. There's even a little dance number here or there. I mean, obviously ballerina, but chalk that up on the list. Funny, so entertaining, violent, interesting premise, funny movie. And without getting into spoilers, I'll even say there's like some mild subversion of expectations in this film. I mean, some stuff, you know, you watch the trailer, if you see it enough times and kind of piece a movie together a little bit and figure out as you're watching, because some scenes haven't happened yet, and especially given the timing and character reactions, sometimes trailers can spoil if somebody gets hurt or if somebody does a certain thing. Well, I think the trailer does spoil some stuff involving like character deaths or situations. There was still a good amount of subversion in the plot that still kept me on my toes and made it an interesting, surprising watch at times. Very bloody, gory movie. I don't know what it is about the director. I love how between Ready or Not and this director just really likes to make people explode and cover people in blood and guts. I'm here for it. I love that like final girl aesthetic of fighting back, kicking ass, and a baptism of blood. It's just a cool aesthetic that I like, and apparently this director does too. So I hope the next film he does also has that in it. Just people exploding. A couple minute cons for me though. There were one or two deaths relating to certain characters in the movie that most of them were great. Like the great scenes, cool death sequences, or at least they were like horrific or interesting or funny, anything like that. But there were admittedly a couple that, I don't know, just in the moment to me felt kind of unceremonious, especially because they were starting to build certain characters up and then boom. Now again, maybe that plays into the subversion of expectations a little bit, but sometimes the other thought of mine is like, oh, well, I kind of just built up and went nowhere, didn't it? And then this one is always kind of a small gripe or nitpick, and you can't really expect perfection in a movie like this, like usually in most circumstances, but sometimes character judgment and decisions. Again, these characters all have intelligences of varying degrees. Maybe one of them is like a big old meathead. Maybe one of them is like a shrewd, like ex-con or something. In the moment, I usually play devil's advocate, and my defense for these characters is, oh, well, when you're in the heat of the moment and adrenaline's going, you have adrenaline and fear and a myriad of other things racing through your head, then of course, you know, you're not going to have like pitch perfect response times and whatnot. And you're not going to make the best calls, the best decisions. You're not going to be on your A game, basically. But still, sometimes people are kind of silly in the movie, and sometimes people just pay for their poor responses and decision-making skills. Again, aside from, you know, some minor unceremonious deaths and some character choices and decisions, and, you know, I could see people taking issue with how the climax of the film pans out, just the way that it plays out. A couple of friends in my group definitely were kind of off-put by it, but I think that comes down to personal preference at some point. All things considered, Abigail's actually better than what I thought it was going to be. I was hopeful that it would be good, but for me it ended up being like really good, if not all out fantastic through most of it. So I had fun. Funny, violent, bloody, gory, survival horror, vampire ballerina girl of a time that I would recommend. Worth seeing in theaters, sure, why not? Give it a go, a looky-loo, check it out. But as far as horror movies go, or at least anything in this kind of vein of horror movie, I've seen so many that are worse. I've seen so many bad films out there that I see this, and the way that it was executed, borderline gothic horror. It's more like gothic and contemporary mixed, but I mean, overall, great time, would recommend it, give it a watch, and yeah, that's all I gotta say about Abigail. I would definitely give it a I almost forgot the rating. High 4 out of 5. High 4 out of 5. It's up there. It's definitely not a perfect film. It's got some minor flaws in my opinion, and depending on who you ask, it has a longer list of flaws, but I really enjoyed my time. There are moments in this movie that I loved. I had fun with it. End of the day, again, as Reggie would say,
if it's not fun, why bother?
But if you're off put by vampires or extreme violence, or if the trailer didn't entice you, then sure, yeah, don't give it a watch, but similar taste to me, go for it. That's all I gotta say about Abigail. Thank you guys and gals so much for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode of whatever movie I review. And goodbye, travelers.